I'll go ahead and kick things off. I know we got a lot of great content to cover today. But welcome everybody, and thank you for joining us. My name is Christina Caesar, and I manage marketing and communications at Synergy Technical, and I have the honor of introducing today's speaker and moderating today's session. Today's webinar is an overview of a cool feature within Power Automate called Power Automate Templates. So our awesome speaker, who I'll introduce shortly, will be walking you all through some of his favorites and how you can implement them in your own organization. But just a little bit about us. Synergy Technical is an IT consulting firm headquartered in Richmond, Virginia. We have clients in over 70 countries in all 50 states and manage over 3 million licenses of Microsoft 365 for our clients through our licensing and managed services practice. And now I have the pleasure of introducing today's speaker, Jeff Laus. So Jeff's one of our best business analysts and SharePoint developers that specializes in the Power Platform suite. You can usually find him working on client projects and development, but I'm so excited because I think I've finally gotten him hooked on webinars because I think this is his 5th or 6th webinar now on the Power Platform. The recordings of the others, which you can find on our YouTube channel. And with that raving introduction, Jeff, I will hand things over to you. I know you got a lot of stuff to cover, so let's get started.
Sounds good. Thank you, Christina. So hello, everyone. Again, my name is Jeff Lau, and I'm really excited to be here today to talk with you guys about Power Automate templates. And so these templates are actually a feature, as Christina was saying, of the tool called Power Automate. And so if you've been to any of my previous webinars before, then you might have seen Power Automate. I actually do I do kind of a lesson on all of these different tools that we have in what we call the Power Platform. And so you'll see that on the screen right here. And so if you're not familiar with the Power Platform, this is basically a tool set that Microsoft has created that allows anyone to create business applications. So it doesn't matter what your skill level or technical background is, you can use these tools to create some really sophisticated applications and automations. And so here you see we have Power BI, Power Apps, Power Automate, Power Virtual Agents. We're going to be in Power Automate today, so this tool right here. And so again, if you were here for my Power Automate webinar, then you'll have an idea of what Power Automate is. But if you don't, what I want to do first is kind of give you a introduction, kind of lay a foundation of what Power Automate is and what it's used for. And so the first thing, what is Power Automate? So Power Automate is a tool that allows anyone to create business process workflows. And so we all have these repetitive, mundane tasks that we do on a daily basis. And wouldn't it be nice to just have, all of these tasks kind of be automated and happen in the background, and you could focus on the more important things that you do during your day. And that's exactly what Power Automate attempts to do, to go ahead and automate these tasks so you don't have to worry about them. So one important key thing to know, one core concept of Power Automate flows is this concept of triggers and actions. So every workflow that you create in Power Automate starts with a trigger. And a trigger basically asks the question, what's going to execute your workflow? What's going to cause it to trigger? And so that's what you'll define at the beginning of any workflow that you create. And then we have actions, and actions are all the steps that precede the trigger and all the steps that you need to do in order to complete whatever you're trying to automate. And so we have triggers and we have actions. And if you look here on the slide, in this little video Giphy thing that I have here, you'll kind of see how you go about creating one of these workflows in Power Automate. And so normally you would have to start from scratch. You're basically given a blank canvas, and you need to define the trigger, and you need to define all the different action steps that you need to in order to automate whatever task you're trying to automate. And so this can be kind of overwhelming, especially if you're new to this tool. You do have to have some knowledge of Power Automate in order to create some really good workflows. And so that's kind of where these Power Automate templates come in, and they're really powerful. And so what are these templates? And so Power Automate templates are pre-built workflows that are designed to automate the most popular business processes. And so instead of creating a workflow from scratch, you can actually utilize these templates, and they're pre-built workflows. So all you have to do is hop into one of these templates, do a couple little configurations, and then you can just take advantage of the automation that has already been built for you. And so what I want to do for the remainder of this session is to show you some of my favorite Power Automate templates and ones that I think you should go ahead and start using, and you can start using them right away if you have access to Power Automate. So let's go ahead and jump over to my browser and I'll show you some of these templates. Right, so here I am, I'm on the office.com, I'm on the main page here. Of course, you can just search for Power Automate in order to navigate to it, but I typically get to it from this page here. And so if I go up to the left-hand corner here, I can click on this app launcher and go ahead and navigate to Power Automate. And there it is. We'll go ahead and open up that in a new tab. Also, you'll notice I have some other applications open here in different tabs as well, so we'll be utilizing those throughout the session. So just keep that in mind. But once we open up Power Automate, right away on the home page, we're actually greeted with a couple templates. So it says, what would you like to automate? And it gives us about 5 templates that we can choose from. These are the ones that are most popular. However, if you look on the left-hand side of the screen here, you'll see that we actually have a dedicated tab for templates as well. So I'm just going to go ahead and select that. And this will open us up into the Power Automate template library. And this is the place where you'll access all the templates that are available to you. And so right away, you'll see we have all of these templates, and there's hundreds of them that you can choose from, and they're continuing to grow daily. So there'll always be more templates for you. But here you can see that we have some here. Also, if you look up at the top, we have different categories of templates. So you see here we have the top picks. These are going to be the ones that are most popular and the ones that people use most often. And then, of course, we have some other ones like remote work. These are going to be ones that help you or automate different tasks that you might want to automate just as someone who's working from home. Then we have things like data collection, templates that revolve around your email and things like that. We also have the search bar up here at the top, so you can search using keywords and try to find exactly what you're trying to automate. All right, so now I want to show you some of the templates that I enjoy, and I think you will as well. So the first one is actually, it revolves around your Office Outlook application, so your email. So I'm just going to type in Office 365 attachments. And so it's this first one right here, save Office 365 email attachments to a specified OneDrive for Business folder. And so basically this is going to monitor, this workflow is going to monitor our Outlook mailbox. And every time we receive a new email that has attachments associated with it, we want this flow to go ahead and trigger. And so once it triggers, it's actually going to save those attachments to whatever OneDrive folder that we specify. And so what we can do is simply just click into this template. Gives us the name of the template. It also has a summary of what this template does, what is it trying to achieve for us. And then right below that, it actually has the connections that we're going to connect to, so the different applications, such as OneDrive for Business and Office 365 Outlook. And so if you look over here on the right, you'll see that we have check marks next to each of these, which signifies that we are connected to them. Sometimes there's a little red X here, and you'll actually have to click into it and sign into the particular application. But once you're signed into all of those connections, you can just click continue. And so this will open us up into the Power Automate Designer. And we can see here is the template. So again, everything's already built for us. Now we just have to do a couple little configurations and we'll be good to go. So again, if we look up here at the top, we will see our trigger. So again, every workflow starts with a trigger. And this trigger is called on new email. So this is going to be monitoring our inbox, and every time we receive the new email, it's going to go ahead and trigger this workflow. And so we can see here that we have a parameter in this trigger called folder. And so this is actually going to show us the folder that this workflow is monitoring. If we want to, we can select this folder icon and actually choose from some different folders and locations inside of Outlook. We could also open up the advanced options if we wanted to and get even more granular with the email. So for instance, we could add this from property here and add an email. So we could have the flow only run when we get an email from a particular person. So you have all that availability right from the trigger here. But for this example, I'm just going to leave it as it is. Right below that, we have something called the condition. And a condition allows us to compare two different values. And based on comparing those values, we can send our workflow down different pathways here. And so we're going to go ahead and configure this condition. By default, it gives us the first property here. We can see the from property, and it's getting that from the trigger here. And so it's basically who sent us the email. And so we can say if the person, we can say if the from contains a certain email address, then we're going to send our workflow down this pathway here. If it contains any other email address, then we'll send it down this path. So let's go ahead and specify an email address for this example. I'm going to use just one of my personal email addresses here. All right. And so if our email comes from this address, we're going to go ahead and come down this pathway. And the first action that we have is the action that's actually going to save our attachments as a OneDrive file. And so create a file when the condition is satisfied. And we have a parameter here called folder path. And so we need to specify the folder that we want to save those attachments to. So I actually have OneDrive open in a separate tab here. And I've created two folders beforehand, one called Attachments from Manager and one called Other Attachments. So these are going to be the folders that we're going to be using inside the workflow. So headed back to the workflow here, we need to specify this folder path. So for this example, let's just say this email here is our manager. And whenever we receive an email from this manager, it's going to go down this pathway and save it to that, that manager folder that we have in OneDrive. So we can select this folder. And we can select attachments from manager. And there we go. That's all we have to do. Of course, we need to satisfy this other condition over here, or this other folder path. So if it's any other email address, we want to save it to the other attachment. So again, I'll just click the folder and select the other attachments. And so there we go. We're good to go. And you can see how easy it is. We opened up this template. We just configured a couple different things, and now we're ready to go ahead and test it out. So we go up to the top right, we'll click this Save button here. And then we can test it out. We'll do a manual test. All right, so this is going to put our workflow in test mode. And now we just need to go ahead and send an email to my inbox. So that's what I just did. I just sent an email to my mailbox and actually have this open in a separate tab here. We should receive it pretty soon, and there it is. And so this is just a project requirements email. Here are project plans for the upcoming project. Please take a look, get back to me as soon as possible. And you can see in this email, we actually have a PDF document here, the project documents. And so if we head back to our workflow, we should see that our flow has run, and it has. It says your flow has run successfully. And now it's going to go ahead and load. Sometimes you actually have to back out and come back in for it to load. So this is just the main workflow page for our flow. And if we look down here, there's actually a 28-day run history of the flow, and we can actually see this instance that we just did. So it happened 19 seconds ago. So we can just go into that. All right, so we can see that our flow did run successfully. We have these little check marks next to the trigger and the actions. And so let's head over to our OneDrive, and we can see if it actually saved to the folder. So attachments from manager, and we open it up and we do see that our project documents PDF has been saved. So there we go. There's the first template. So of course, you know, this task you would have to do manually. You'd have to go into your email and download all those attachments and save them in OneDrive, which seems pretty simple. But you know, if you have to do that for every single email, you know, that can take up a lot of time. And if you could just have it happen automatically, it could save you a lot of time. And it's just a really cool template. So that's the first one I want to show you. Let's head back to our template library, and I'll go ahead and show you another one. All right, so this template actually is using the Planner application in Office 365. And if you're not familiar with Planner, I definitely recommend you start using this application. It's really great for creating project plans. So you can actually create full plans, invite different team members to them, and you can have different buckets with tasks, and you can keep track of all the different tasks for projects. And so actually have this Planner app opened in a tab, and I'll kind of show you what it is. All right, so here's Planner. I went ahead and created a plan called Contoso Project Plan. And so here we are. I have two different buckets of tasks. And so here's some different tasks that we have. Things like create project budget, create requirements document, creating security roles for the application. But all these have different due dates here. And so what I want to do is I want to have a flow that sends every single day to my team, letting them know that we have these tasks that are due tomorrow. And so we can see a couple of these are due on 1/20, so that is tomorrow's date. And we want to basically send a Teams message out to our team, letting them know about these tasks. So let's head back over to our template library, and I'll go ahead and search for this. So post daily messages, Planner. And so we'll just use keywords to find this particular template. And there it is, post daily messages to Microsoft Teams with a Planner task due tomorrow. That's exactly what we want. Again, it's going to connect to Planner and Teams. All right, so again, we look up at the top here and we have our trigger. And so this is actually called a reoccurrence flow, which means it'll run at whatever interval and frequency that we set. And so if you look here, by default, the interval is 1 and the frequency is day. So this is going to run one time every day. And so by default, I think it runs at like 10 a.m. in the morning. But if you open up the advanced options here, you can see you can go ahead and specify exactly when you want this flow to run. And so you can actually specify the hours and minutes and get really granular with that. But for this example, we'll just leave it how it is. Right below the trigger, we actually have the action step that's going to go ahead and grab those tasks from Planner. So it's going to want us to select the plan that we're using, and that's the Contoso project plan. And then so right below that, we have a couple different things happening. We actually have a loop step, which is going to loop through every single task. But the beauty is you don't need to understand what's happening here. You don't have to actually know because it's all been built and it's been tested. You just have to do a couple configurations. And so you might kind of wonder at this point, how do you know which steps you need to configure and which steps you can just kind of bypass? If you go ahead and click save, like right now, for instance, and I try to save this flow, it's going to show me that I have some errors. And it's going to show us the parameters that we need to go ahead and specify. So this is saying that I need to specify a team and a channel from the post message and chatter channel action. So if I go to the bottom here, we can see that it's this action right here, and we actually have these little error messages telling me I need to go ahead and fill these in. So this message is going to be the message that sends me that message in Teams with all of those tasks. So I'm going to specify a team here. Let's just go with the Contoso project team. And then I think we only have one channel within that team, the general channel. And it also gives us this default message, which gives the task itself. And it's telling us that it's due tomorrow, and it also gives us the date as well. But we could change this message if we want. We could also, add maybe something else. Get these done ASAP, or get this task done ASAP. And there we go. So we have filled in everything that we need to for this template, and so we can go ahead and test this out. And so what we'll do is we'll save it and test it. For some reason with reoccurrence flows, as soon as you save the flow for the first time, it's going to go ahead and run the flow. So I'm not really sure why the functionality is that way, but it is. So when I click save, it should go ahead and run the flow. All right, so I'm going to head back out of this to the main flow page here. And so if we look down here, we should see that the flow is running. And so it said the flow has ran successfully. So if we open up all of these actions, we should get that check mark next to all of them, and we do. So the question is, did this actually post to Teams? So we're going to have Teams open in a separate tab here. Let's go to the Contoso project team. And here we can see there's a post for each of those tasks that I had in my planner board. So it says the task itself, it's due tomorrow, and of course that message that I added. So a really cool template that you can use. Of course you have to be using Planner for this to be any use for yourself. But again, if you haven't started using Planner, I definitely recommend the app. It's a really great way to create full project plans for your team. And of course, you can use this template to let your team know about all the tasks that are due the following day. So let's head back over to our templates, and I have one more main template that I want to show you guys, and then I'm going to actually finish out with a more complex template just so you can kind of see the power that these templates have. And so this third one I'm going to show you actually has to do with approval. It's an approval workflow. And so oftentimes in organizations, people want to get something approved, whether it be a document or maybe even a time off request or something like that. You want to have some type of approval workflow associated with that. And so we can actually go ahead and use one of these templates to create an approval. And so what I have is in another tab here, I have what is called a SharePoint list. And you may be familiar with these, you may not. But basically, this is a functionality in SharePoint that allows me to create these specific lists with different record items within the list itself. So I have a couple different, well, first off, this list is called document approval. And I have a couple different fields within this list. I have document name, the attachments, and we also have a status field as well. So someone could come into this list and they could create a new item. And then they could enter the document name. They could add the necessary attachments that they want to get approved. And we can see that the status field is actually has defaulted to this pending status. So whenever a new person comes in this list and they add a new document for approval, we want to go ahead and trigger a workflow that will send an approval out to that specific person that we specify, and they can go ahead and approve or reject the document. And when they do that, we want to change this status to either approved or rejected. So let's go ahead and head back to our template library and we'll create this workflow. So I'm going to I can start an approval because that's what we're trying to do. And so there are a lot of different templates that revolve around approvals. The one we are looking for is this fourth one over here, start approval when a new item is added. And so that's referring to a SharePoint list item. So I'll click into that. All right. So we've opened up the template. The first thing we do is go to the very top and go ahead and configure the trigger. So in this case, when a new item is created is the name, and we need to specify the site address and the list name. So in this case, we're actually dealing with a site called test site. And the list name is document approval, right? So we'll just go ahead and select that. And then the first action is the approval itself. So we're actually going to send out the approval to whoever we specify. So there's most of the parameters here are already filled out for us. All we have to do is assign our approver. So here we can just type in an email. I'm going to be the approver for this example. And my email is this mod administrator. Okay. And right below this is a condition here. And so basically, if I approve this document, it's going to send our workflow this way. If I reject it, it's going to send it this way. And we can see in both of these pathways, we're actually sending an email to the person who created the document in SharePoint. And so we can see in this particular instance, we're going to send them an email that says that the document has been approved. And it'll also show any comments that were left by the approver. So again, on this side, if it's rejected, it'll send them the rejection email. And so this will kind of all make sense once we go ahead and test it out. But again, if we kind of just summarize what's happening, a new item is being created in SharePoint. That's going to trigger our workflow. We're going to send out the approver to myself for this example. And then depending on what decision I make, it's going to send our workflow one of these two paths. So I'm going to go ahead and save this. All right. And now I want to test it out. And so all I need to do now is go ahead and add a new document to that SharePoint list. So I'll head over to that document approval list. And let's go ahead and add a new document here. So I'll just call this new project requirements. I'll just add this PDF to my computer here, and we'll save this. All right, so our workflow should be monitoring this list, and when I submitted this item, it should go ahead and trigger that workflow. So I head back here, we can see at the top it says our flow is running. And again, I'm just going to back out and hop back in. All right, so we can see here that our trigger successfully executed. And we see that our approval step is actually in a pending state here. We see this little pending icon. So it's basically waiting for me to approve or reject that approval. So if I open up my inbox here, we can see that I received this approval. And so what it actually gives me, it gives me a link to that specific item that we submitted. So if I click into it, it's actually going to take me to that item. And so as the approver, I could go ahead and look at the details. I could open up the attachments. And if I want to go ahead and approve, I can do so. So I'm going to approve. And I can add comments. I'll just say, looks great to me. And if we head back to our flow, it should complete there. And there we go. So it says the flow is run successfully. And if we head back, we see that we received this email here. It says your request for new project requirements has been approved by Mod Administrator, and it looks great. And so there we go. We created a simple approval workflow where someone could come in and submit a document to that SharePoint list and get it approved by whoever you specify. All right, so let's head back to our templates. And so those were the three main templates I wanted to show you guys. I think those are three really good ones to go ahead and start with. Of course, there's tons of other templates that you can look at, and those ones that I showed you were pretty simple, but they're powerful. You know, they can save you a lot of time, you know, getting those tasks done. But there is a lot more complex templates that you can explore. And so what I want to do is show you one of those just to kind of finish this out. And so this template is actually deals with something called sentiment analysis. And so you may be unfamiliar with that. But this template is actually, it's called Analyze Email Sentiment with AI Builder and Send Results to Teams. So what this is going to do is actually going to monitor, again, the Outlook inbox. And every time I receive a new email, it's actually going to analyze that email and tell me the sentiment. So whether it's positive, neutral, or negative language. And then it's actually going to send me a Teams chat basically telling me that sentiment that it found. All right, so we'll go ahead and create this. So it wants us to go ahead and define a parameter. It wants us to define who is going to receive a message in Teams. So in this case, I'll just use myself. Okay, and then we can go ahead and create. Maybe. There we go. All right, so I'll just go ahead and open this up into the edit mode so you can see what this workflow kind of looks like. All right, so you can see that this one is a little more complex. We have a lot more steps that we're dealing with. But again, the beauty is you don't need to know what each of these steps is doing. If we look up here at the trigger here, we'll see that this is monitoring our inbox. And then here, the last step is actually going to be posting that Teams message, basically telling us the sentiment of the email. And so let's go ahead and test this out, and I'll show you how it works. So we'll just go ahead and save it. All right, so again, I'm going to send an email to my inbox, and it will go ahead and trigger the workflow here. All right, and so there's the email. And I'll just read it for you. So hi there, I just wanted to thank you for taking the time to review my sales report yesterday. Your feedback is much appreciated. Hope you have a great rest of your day. So by just looking at that email, we can say that that has a pretty positive sentiment. And so we should expect the same of the workflow. Okay, so we're back in the workflow and it says the flow is running. Okay, well, right now it's saying that we have a failure here. But this is what happens if you have a failed flow. For some reason, it's failed. 1 second. Right, I'm not exactly sure what happened, but what I'll do is I'll go ahead and test this with that same email, and we'll see if it works this next time. All right, it looks like it worked that time. That was strange. I've never had that error before. But basically, it triggered based off that email that I sent, and then it's going to send us that message with the sentiment. So if I head over to Teams and I go to my chat here, we can see I've received one new chat from Power Automate. And so there it is. It gives us the email itself and also tells us that this has a positive sentiment. It actually looked like that first time it did actually send. That's why I have 2 of these. So that was an odd error. But you see how this works. And again, you know, that flow looks very complicated, but it can achieve something you know, very useful. And it's very easy to go ahead and set up. I didn't have to, you know, configure anything at all for this one. So really awesome stuff. And so guys, that's really all I have to show you today. I hope you know, you saw these templates and it kind of gives you some motivation to go, you know, try out these for yourself. And they can really be helpful to automate some of the tasks that you have and that you do on a daily basis. And again, those 3 that I showed you are a good starting point. But also know that these can be a good learning tool as well if you're trying to learn how to construct workflows. You know, you can go into these templates and you can kind of reverse engineer them, if you will, and try to figure out exactly what's going on, and that can kind of teach you, you know, how to construct workflows for yourself. And so that's all I really have. If you have any questions, I'll go ahead and pass this off to Christina, and we can finish off with kind of a question and answer period. But yeah, I really appreciate you guys watching and hope you got something out of this this demonstration.
Yeah, awesome job, Jeff. And yeah, we do have some fun questions. So first, one quickly, thank you. But what if spam sends you an attachment or a hacker tries to send you an attachment and it gets downloaded if the email doesn't go to junk? So I think this is referring to your first template that, so I think, so like the security settings maybe in the template.
Yeah, no, that's a great question, and I definitely thought about that myself. And what I would say to that, yeah, again, if we open up, let's just open up that template. I can just kind of show you. There are some settings that you can actually do in Outlook to, you know, have that spam be avoided as much as possible, and so you can do that, of course. But again, there are some other, you know, kind of parameters that you can add to this trigger, so it doesn't trigger on, you know, every single email. And so you would have to mess around with this to get it exactly how you want it to be. But of course, this is only going to run when you have attachments associated with email. So if you have spam that doesn't have attachments, of course, it's not going to run. But yeah, that's a great question. And I would honestly probably look towards Outlook more to kind of figure out a way to get that spam, you know, rid that spam before it actually gets to your inbox. That's what I would say.
Yeah. Awesome. So, okay, and I think this one, wow, I think we're gonna go in order. I think this is about the next template. So when you post your daily tasks from Teams to Planner, and I have to say, kudos, I love Planner. Like I live through Planner and those to-do lists. So if you're not currently using Planner in your life, you should get it. Use it. It's amazing. So can you post to multiple teams at one time or specify which tasks get posted in which teams, and can it be integrated across multiple planners? So I guess, sorry, that was 3 questions in one.
Yeah, no, great question. I think the best way to kind of show that maybe is to open up that template. But first, I think a good thing to go ahead and put out there is these are definitely like starting points. These templates are, are meant to automate a certain task, but oftentimes you want more things to occur, more actions to be automated, and so you can always, add different actions. So we have the ability to configure more action steps, and so oftentimes that's what you'll want to do with these templates. But yeah, to the question, can you post this into multiple teams? So if we actually see this particular action here, the one that's actually posting it to the team, and if you remember, we specified the team and the channel. If we wanted to, we could go ahead and add this exact same action again, and we could have this post to another team if we'd like. But in this particular case, we have this plan in Planner that's associated with a particular team. So in this case, it probably would just make sense to post it to this one team, since the members of that plan are the same as the members of the team, right? But yeah, you can definitely make that happen by just adding another team, another post action, right, and then just add another team to that. So
gotcha. Cool. And then so assuming can you edit a currently published template, and how are, well, I'll start with that one. I think that's a quick yes no answer.
Yeah, so you're kind of referring to what I said, where you can just continue to add more action steps. Yeah, you can definitely do that. And you can also, remove steps that you don't need. A lot of templates, have things that you don't necessarily want, and so you can simply just delete them. And so you can kind of personalize them to fit your business use case. And so that's the answer to that question. What was the other question?
Sorry. And then, so going back to, I think, how the template gallery is organized, can you submit a flow that you create as a template to the gallery? And how does Microsoft select the top picks recommended for you within the gallery?
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so yeah, in the gallery here, starting off, you can see that each task has right below the name of the task, it actually says who it's been created by. So a lot of them say by Microsoft. So Microsoft has actually taken upon themselves to create a lot of these templates, which is good, because I think if anyone should be able to create a good template, it's Microsoft. So you have a lot of theirs that you can use, right? But you also have ones that say by right here, for instance, by Microsoft Power Automate Community, and those are the ones that you can actually submit yourself. So if I wanted to submit one, I could, I could submit one of my templates or one of my workflows that I really like and think that others could enjoy. I could go ahead and submit that as a template, and then it would actually get verified by Microsoft. They would make sure it works as as it expected to before they can actually add it to this gallery. But I was actually looking into that a while back ago, and I can't actually find where you submit your flows as templates. You used to be able to click on the flow itself, and you would come up here, and it would say there would be an option for adding it. For some reason, I can't find that. Maybe it's somewhere, but maybe Microsoft.
So many submissions.
That's what I was thinking. I was thinking Microsoft's probably tired of seeing all the submissions.
Yeah.
So they took away that option.
Awesome. Okay, so let's see, next question. What applications integrate with Power Automate templates? Is it only Office applications?
What was that again? Sorry.
Okay, sorry. What applications integrate with Power Automate templates? So is it, I think they're asking if it's only the Microsoft Office applications so maybe like could you have a template maybe that went to social media or something outside of the Microsoft suite or connected with?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, I mean, you're basically asking what are the applications that you can connect to, and so if you see here, we have connectors. There's a tab called connectors, and so there are hundreds of connectors that Microsoft makes available to us within Power Automate. And so you can find all the ones that are available. I mean, there's ones like Twitter, Gmail. I mean, there's hundreds that you can find, and most likely the one that you're looking for is available. But if it's not, there's actually a way to create a custom connector to establish a connection to that application that's not available to us. So that does take a lot more. It's kind of a pro dev configuration that you have to do, but it's definitely possible. But again, there's tons of connectors. You should probably be able to find the one that works for you.
Make one that sends me the weather every morning before I walk to the office.
Oh yeah, that's definitely.
I'm so bad at that. And then it's raining, and I'm like, oh, I should check the weather. So that was the last one. But so unless Jeff, you had anything else, I'll just quickly say thank you everyone for attending today, and you will receive a follow-up email with the recording of this webinar by tomorrow. And in the future, please be sure to keep up with us on social media, subscribe to our YouTube channel. I did post the link to Jeff's playlist from our YouTube channel in the Q&A chat. But yeah, please keep up with us and check out our events page for more upcoming webinars. And Jeff, thank you again. Kudos to you. That was awesome. I've officially gotten you hooked on webinars. I'm so excited.
Yep, sure have.
All right. Well, thank you everyone, and have a great rest of your day.